I'm joined now by sports analysts Ben Awadi and Ernest Opuni, both breathless with excitement ahead of this crucial fight. Ernest, let me start with you. Just put into context why this fight is so huge and where does it rank in previous heavyweight contests?
There's a perfect intersection, I think, in terms of an absolutely great champion whose time we don't think is finished yet, and an explosive champion who was nowhere near as good as he's going to get.
Yes.
So it provides an awful lot of uncertainty in terms of how this plays out. But the actual size and scale of the event alone means it really matters. And it's not a fight that you would have assumed would have happened, actually, because Anthony Joshua could have stayed away from Vladimir. Vladimir could have hung around and taken a different route. But it's actually probably the two prime heavyweights deciding to go against each other when they didn't have to, which I think is a throwback to what it used to be back in the days of the 70s and so on.
And Ben, before we actually get to the different styles of each fighter, how do you describe the build-up? It's been fairly mellow, both fighters incredibly respectful of each other. Does any fighter hold a psychological edge at the moment?
For me, I think that Klitschko 100% has the edge. I think leading up to everything was very amicable because, again, which is what Joshua said, you can't fake animosity because they are friends. They were sparring partners. They do respect each other, so they can't just fake and just dress up. But I think in the final press conference, when Klitschko brought out that USB stick, then he will predict what will happen. And he was laughing, he was joking, he was relaxed, he was playing with the crowd. Joshua was the most serious that I've seen him. And I just seen by how relaxed Klitschko was, I think he definitely has the mental edge. And he says that he knows Joshua. He knows what he will do. Again, master versus the apprentice. And the master knows what the apprentice will do. So that makes it interesting.
So, Ernest, let's get into detail. How would you describe both fighters' styles and how do you see this fight actually panning out?
I think the first 3 to 5 rounds, if it goes that far, will be critical. My initial sense is the further down the line it goes, the more likely it'll be favouring Vladimir. The referee's got a really key part to play as well, David Fields, because if he's going to allow Vladimir to get in there with his kind of jab and grab and leaning on Joshua, Joshua's not going to be at his best. He won't be able to tee off in the way he wants to. I think, however, neither of them is likely to actually go into this full pelt. I see the first round at least being a bit of a scoping out,
cagey,
quite cagey. But the person who unleashes and lands first will have some answers to their questions about whether they can hurt the other person. And whoever receives that punch will know, actually, can I handle it? So there'll be a lot of that going on, I think. But the longer it goes and the more cagey a fight it becomes, and if it's kept at distance, that favours Vladimir. Whereas I think AJ's got to get on the inside and actually unleash some of his power shots.
And Ben, as we know, Joshua, a lot more inexperienced. He's never gone the distance. Could that be pivotal in tonight's fight? I
think, again, doing off what Ernest said, Klitschko wants to make this a 12-rounder. And Joshua is smart. He says that he's been training for a 12-rounder. He's not training for a knockout. He's training to go the distance. But Joshua has never been in a boxing match. And
he's never been tested.
He's never really been tested within the technical intricacies of boxing, which is what Klitschko's experienced at. And I think, which is what Ernest was saying, he's got to find a way to get on the inside. Yes. But Klitschko is going to keep him at a distance. Jab, jab, hook. Jab, jab, hook. So I think if Joshua can find a way to get on the inside, that is where he can harm Klitschko. So it's the first 3 or 4 rounds, we will then see how it may pan out. If Klitschko is getting him on the outside, he's having a lot of stops and he's making it very gruesome, very slow, very late, but that is what will frustrate Joshua. And if Joshua is frustrated and starts throwing wild punches, Klitschko will have him where he wants him.
Now, Klitschko hasn't fought. Firstly, he's 41. Some are saying he's perhaps over the hill. He hasn't fought since that shock defeat against Tyson Fury. Are we reading too much into that performance where he really did have an off day? Should Joshua be wary that we probably won't see as bad a performance from Klitschko today?
I think absolutely he will need to be wary. He needs to be wary of him anyway. This is a legend he's fighting. However, I think the key factor and probably the relevance to what happened against Fury is probably the last 10-15 fights. Vladimir has always had a physical height and weight and reach advantage over his opponents. He didn't have that against Fury, and that was an issue for him. He's now up against someone who's quite big, and I think the actual size, along with the power, provides a slightly different challenge for Vladimir tonight. And it's one where I'm not entirely certain he will get past it. He was bad against Fury. I think Joshua potentially could make him look bad again.
OK, let's get into prediction times.
You can't do this. Come on.
Well, you've got to earn your keep if you're coming here on Arise News. So, Ben, simple answer. Who's going to win and how are they going to do it?
It pains me to say this because I'm biased. I'm Nigerian and I wanted Joshua to win. Sue me, I'm biased. But I think Klitschko will take this on points. I just think that because Joshua hasn't been in a boxing match and the guys who he's beat have been no names, I think Klitschko, because he's the underdog and he enjoys the tug of the underdog, I think Klitschko has studied Joshua. He'll make sure he doesn't get to the inside. It will go 12 rounds and I think that he'll just edit on points. Maybe it will be 2-1. So I think 2 judges will give it to Klitschko, 1 judge may give it to Joshua.
Okay, so head says Klitschko, your heart wants Joshua. Ernest?
I'm going to go head and heart Joshua.
Whoa!
Purely and simply because I still remember people like Lamont Brewster and people like Corey Sanders and what actually happened to Vladimir when he was tapped on the chin. And I think he's managed to keep it away from having to take punches, but tonight he will.
Inside, but will he allow him to get on the inside? That's the thing.
$64,000 question. You're absolutely right.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see if these predictions are indeed correct. Fascinating fight, I'm sure. Gentlemen, thank you for the moment. And Ben and Ernest are back with me in the studio. Gentlemen, let's talk football. Premier League tonight, evening kickoff. Ben, Palace look all but assured of safety now. They'll guarantee that with victory tonight. How would you explain this transformation under Allardyce? It's been remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to think about what could have been if he was England manager. Because Sam Allardyce is a very good coach. He did this at Bolton. Even if he was vilified by the fans, he still did it at West Ham. He's always been successful anywhere he's going. But I think what he did was that Crystal Palace were always a very good team with good players. They just did not get the best out of those players. But Allardyce went there and said, I'm going to get the best out of Sacco, the best out of Benteke, Townsend and Zaha. And these guys are playing to their potential in their right roles. And he's instilled a confidence in them. They know how to defend. They know what roles to play. And there is a very definitive way that they play. So you could just... It's a team who are listening to the instructions, to their managers. I think Allardyce... Yes, the players do the playing, but a lot of the credit has to go to Sam Allardyce's coaching and how... Look at the teams that they've beaten. It's just down to what Allardyce has done to this team, which is amazing.
And Ernest, I remember when they lost against Sunderland at home 4-0. In fact, that was Sunderland's last victory. And things looked pretty depressing for Palace fans. And yet he's turned it around with wins against Chelsea, Arsenal and Liverpool this month. Looking at to next season, assuring that they're going to stay, top 10 finish maybe?
That's the interesting thing, as a matter of fact, because... ever so often, Sam Allardyce's teams are great at survival. How great they are at then kicking on, next season could be too soon, actually. With Bolton, he had a long stretch, and he did actually get Bolton into really respectable positions, but it took a while so to do. And, you know, totally echo everything that Ben has said there, is actually he's finally got the team to suss out how he wants them to play, and it works, particularly at that end of the table. As to whether it's going to provide a platform for necessarily pushing forward, maybe it's a bit more akin to what happened at West Ham. He got them up, but then it was a bit of a battle, and that's probably where the challenge might lie. OK,
let's look ahead to the top of the table. Chelsea in action against Everton in the early kick-off on Sunday. This, on paper, Ben, is their hardest fixture left, isn't it? What do you expect?
I still think Chelsea will win, but which is what you said, this is going to be their hardest fixtures to play because of how good Everton are at home, how lethal Lukaku is as a striker, and just how good of a team they are. If they win this, I already think it's all over. I don't even know why they're still playing. They should just hand them the crown. It's finished, but fair enough. Let's just do the mathematics.
If Chelsea lose tomorrow and Spurs win, it's down to 1 point.
But, Anil, you know Tottenham, when it comes down to it, they don't have the character. They always sink under the pressure. You know this. Wow. Anil, you know this. So I just think that they have to... Costa has to give them something. I think those goals he scored were huge because he's been pitiful in the last few months. So I think those goals will give him confidence. I think if Costa gives them something and really leads the line like how he did in the early part of the season, then I think Chelsea should end this 1-0. But this is definitely going to be a very difficult game. But as you said, if they were to lose this, which I don't think they will, if they were to lose this, it does complicate things when we look at what Tottenham are doing against Arsenal.
And Ernest, looking at previous games at Goodison Park between Chelsea and Everton, not only are Everton on a stunning run of, I think, 8 home wins in a row, Chelsea have lost 6 of their last 10 away games against Everton, and they haven't kept a clean sheet in a long time. Are these things that Spurs fans should perhaps... These are crumbs of comfort, maybe? They can cling on to a few straws with that, but that was the only reason why I'd hesitate to be as confident as Ben is with regard to what's going to happen. I genuinely think in a head-to-head, and it's historical,
Chelsea and Goodison Park are not fantastically comfortable places for, in terms of where Chelsea play their best. Everton are not under pressure. Lukaku is absolutely going to be on fire. If the talk is true, potentially Chelsea might be interested in looking at him. We're better than to actually show that off. And Everton at home, it's going to be tough. And Chelsea are doing enough, but they're not as fluent as we saw them probably 10 matches ago.
But getting those results, the results.
Yeah, I've got a feeling for a draw on that one.
So let's look ahead to the other huge game on Sunday, North London derby. Ben, Pochettino has already come out and said, look, it doesn't matter where Arsenal finish. We should be looking at finishing at the top or second. But if they do win against Arsenal, they finally guarantee finishing ahead of Arsenal in 21 years. Will they do it?
No. Arsenal are going to beat Tottenham.
Okay, let's just... do you want to try that again? You are predicting an Arsenal win at Tottenham tomorrow.
Because the whole point is that Arsenal will get top four. The only way that my prediction, which is right, will happen is Arsenal have to win all of their games. Hence why Arsenal will defeat Tottenham in the last game.
It's a very bold prediction. It's a very bold prediction.
No, they'll win.
Ernest, do you agree with him?
I'm afraid not. I think Spurs will turn them over tomorrow.
Comfortably?
Back in my mind, I'm thinking 2 or 3-1 potentially.
Whoa, and it's 3-1.
I do.
It's a derby. You can't say 3-1. That's a good one.
At the moment, I think had either Spurs or Arsenal not won as late as they did in midweek, then momentum shift. But they're both coming in there with a real push for it. And Spurs, for once, do not have that soft underbelly. For once, they seem to have the intensity and a bit of steel. And they are actually, at the moment, a better side than Arsenal.
True, no, but it's a North London derby, and I just think that's for Arsenal. They will raise their game, and I just think because it's a North London derby, you will see a difference. Arsenal, yes, they've not been playing great, but I think Arsenal will surprise a lot of people, and I will stick to it. 3-1. That's lunacy.
Okay.
2-1 Arsenal.
You are in on Monday, aren't you?
What?
You are in on Monday.
I need to check the roads.
Okay. So just in case your prediction doesn't come true, we'll talk on Monday. Gentlemen, thank you for the moment. You're watching Global Sports Report. Still to come on the programme, the Clippers survive as they push their series with the Utah Jazz to a Game 7.
Finally got it back. Paul for 3, wide open. Splash.